name's Jacob.
I'm Yuri.
We're going for a drive.
'20 Mercedes AMG GTR.
With launch control. Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Horsepower and torque.
577 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque from a handcrafted 4-liter twin-turbo V8.
And what are the competitors?
The Porsche GT3 RS, the Audi R8, and the Nissan GTR, kind of?
And then maybe an NSX as well.
Kind of, yeah. It's in the same ballpark.
And kind of an Huracan, except it's more expensive.
Yes.
Okay, so this is rear-wheel drive.
Yeah, so that's why we didn't get the best launch, but it feels great.
Yes, it's like very loud, very powerful. When the launch control hits, all the lights are flashing. It's pretty much the most ideal launch control besides it not being actually all-wheel drive.
Yeah, and the best part is it doesn't actually say launch control, it says race start. And it's actually a really high RPM. And 0 to 100 kilometers per hour is 3.6 seconds, which is actually slower than the E63S.
So previously we did a full-out review on the GTCs, which were wide-body convertibles.
Yeah, I had the best time in that. I just like to state that again.
That was a lot of fun, but this is the GTR, which we briefly drove on the track, and it has been refreshed for 2020.
So let's see what they've done with the handling into cliche corner. Downshift, downshift. Oh, it sounds good. And definitely a little bit loose on the back end, because this is rear-wheel drive. My God. The only thing I can think of is that sound, but this really handles incredibly well. It's so flat, and it's really aggressive. It's really stiff.
And it feels natural, like it feels controllable. You get those same vibes that you get from the M2 competition, which was smaller and everything, but like, you know what it's doing.
Yeah, this is huge, and you kind of feel like you're pivoting around the front. You're kind of sailing a boat kind of thing, but without the boatiness, it's just the length.
Because there's so much in front and you're sitting like over the back wheel. And the thing that I'd like to start off with the most is the traction control in this, because it's legendary because it has the yellow traction control dial.
It's the first thing you see when you get in here.
And it's the coolest thing, which is pretty much in no other vehicles that I know except for the McLaren 720S.
Yeah, but that's drift angle, and this is totally different. So let me explain this as quickly as possible. There are so many different traction and stability control modes. So in order for the traction control knob to actually work and to get it to light up, you actually have to turn traction off. So when you turn it off, you can still turn it on by rotating the button all the way to the right, or you can have it fully off all the way to the left. You can also customize 9 different modes in between, but they are not drift modes, they are grip modes. And on top of that, you can also just press the traction button and not have that light up and then go into sport traction.
Okay, so to test out all the traction, we should probably see what it does when you try to do a donut with traction all the way off.
Let's send it to the track.
So obviously it can do a donut with traction all the way off, but what if we put traction all the way on?
Let's find out.
Excellent.
Kind of just cuts out and bogs down.
You just do circles.
Which is exactly what you'd expect.
Exactly.
So now let's see what happens when you try to drift a car with the yellow traction control dial all the way off.
And now let's find out when you have it all the way on. So what happens when it's all the way on? You just drive. I had my foot flat to the floor and nothing happened, full stability.
Yeah, it pretty much just...
It drove.
It cuts off the engine and makes it very safe. Like if you were on a track and you were a beginner, you could comfortably drive this car in that mode.
You could be flat out the whole track
Yeah.
and you will not drift.
It's like a super video game traction control.
Yes.
They don't even have traction control that good in video games.
Exactly. So then the next thing we had to test was what happened when you put it right in the middle.
So then trying it in the middle was pretty much the exact same as trying it with only one back from all the way off.
Yeah, so in conclusion, there's way too many modes here, but they are definitely not drift modes, they are grip modes. So you kind of vary how much grip and slip angle you want.
Yes, for like being fast on a track, I think it's perfect. If you want to go drifting, it's pretty much exactly the same as having any of the AMG GTCs or whatever fully off.
Exactly.
And big shout out to Toronto Motorsports Park in Cayuga for letting us use the track.
Thank you guys.
They're open right now, just so you guys know. They're doing social distancing. They have a lot of rules and everything. So check them out on Instagram and their website so you can find out what you need to do to get to the track.
So since this is the GTR, it's for racing, obviously. But let's talk about...
Is that what the R stands for?
Oh, it does, I believe.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So let's talk about this transmission and engine combo. So I'm going to downshift with the paddles, which are fantastic paddles, but they are gloss black. Oh, that sound. Okay.
It sounds like really, really, really good.
It's such an aggressive car and sound. It's just, it's like the Terry Crews of cars.
It's the most aggressive in their lineup right now, I think.
It is, for sure, because you can get the Pro, but you pretty much can't get it if you don't know somebody.
And we actually know a guy with a Pro.
Yeah, shout out Claude. He's one of our subscribers, and we met him in Gimli, Manitoba when we got to drift E63Ss.
We just wanted to say that so we could show more winter drifting footage, right?
Yes, we did, absolutely. But also shout out Claude.
Yeah.
So back to this engine, it pulls so hard, like ridiculously hard, any RPM, any gear. It doesn't feel turbo, it just feels very naturally aspirated, but it doesn't rev that high, like nothing close to like a GT3 RS.
No, but it's very, very satisfying. You always have power, and combined with the transmission, if you're running in the auto mode, you floor it in any single mode, it'll downshift super hard and just give you full power.
Yeah, so this is a 7-speed dual clutch, and it is amazing. Now the transmission is a transaxle, it is in the back. There's a carbon fiber torque tube to transfer power from the engine to the transmission, which is amazing.
And this is a hand-built AMG motor, so we do have the signature up there.
Yes, we do. And the hood is so long. The engine's actually placed mid-front engine, so it is mid-engined.
But to be honest, my preference is mid-engine in the back.
Yeah,
I like the shorter front end.
I get it, but this feels special.
Do you think they're ever going to make a 43 version of the AMG GTR?
No. I think there was talks about it, but...
AMG GT43, that's what it would be.
Well, there is the AMG GT 4-door 53, which is kind of that. So...
But that's built off an E platform.
Yeah. With an AMG name, though.
Things are going to get crazy soon.
Oh, God. If they turn this into a 43 or 53...
They're going to give it plastic cladding.
and lift it.
No latch control.
There's going to be an SUV version of this? Oh, God. Oh, no.
One day, it'll happen.
I hope not. Okay, back to this car. We have a bunch of different drive modes. Race mode's obviously my preference. However, individual is even better because race mode still has automatic transmission, so you can use the paddles, but it'll kick you back into automatic. So individual I customized to make it manual.
Yes, and to get around that, you can be in race mode and then just click this manual button, which will keep you in manual mode.
Yeah, so there are actually a couple different ways to change your drive modes. There's so many different ways to customize a lot of stuff in this car, and I really like it.
Yeah, and pushing these LCD buttons is different than the last AMG GTC we had. I don't mind this at all, but sometimes it can be slightly difficult to see them.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to reach the ones on the right side. I always want my exhaust on, but I can also change that with the steering wheel buttons because those are also fully customizable with these little LCD screens.
Yeah, so now we have the rotary wheel that we can also click to change our modes, and clicking it goes into individual. And on the left, we have buttons to change certain features, which we could also customize by clicking the LCD, so you can make it exhaust, suspension, or other things.
And another thing I want to touch on, this also has AMG Dynamics. So this is actually another level of stability control. So it has basic, advanced, pro, and master, and those are tied to the stability control, but also the drive modes. It's kind of tied in with your slip angle and your drifting and how much traction you're gonna get. But the traction is different, like we said, because there's also that knob. So there's a lot going on, like a lot.
There's a lot going on, but if you keep it in the regular modes, if you're just driving on streets, it's fine. And when it's time for track, you pretty much just dial in that yellow thing.
And if we were to customize their suspension, it is adaptive, obviously. We have Comfort, Sport, and Sport Plus. Comfort is still very stiff, but it's not gonna beat you up that hard.
It's fine.
Yeah, I would put this on the level of like a GT3 RS, but stiffer.
Yeah, and I think it kind of reminds me of how stiff and uncomfortable the Nismo 370Z was, but I feel like this might be a little softer in comfort mode.
Yeah, everything about this car is just, it's really aggressive, everything's really firm, like the way it changes directions, it has all-wheel steering, it's just you get overwhelmed with how quickly this thing can change directions, how much power it has, all the settings, there's a lot going on, but if you just sit back, put it into drive, put it into race mode, and just enjoy it, this is one of my favorite cars I've ever driven.
It's definitely up there for cars that you feel really comfortable in, you feel one with, and I'll put that right there with the M2 competition.
Totally agree, yeah.
And McLaren. I feel very connected to McLarens, oddly enough.
And Porsche GT3 RS was really good.
I am one with the car.
And the driving position is amazing as well. Like everything about this it just screams performance. Like This is my jam. You know how much I love V8s. You know how much I love things that sound like this. And before I let you drive, I'm just going to tell you the Nürburgring record time, because why not?
Okay, hit me with it.
7:10 in 2016, but then it beat it with the AMG GTR Pro. So this one, with this version, does not actually have an official time.
Didn't the Viper do faster than that when they brought it back?
Yeah, I don't
think
remember.
it did 7:02.
Other cars have beat it.
Supercar checklist. Is it fast? Is it loud?
Race start!
Okay.
Yes.
Yes and yes.
Yeah, so let's talk about that sound. Titanium muffler. I think it sounds incredible. Let's play another clip.
Yeah, and obviously when you're in comfort mode, it's not going to give you as many crackles and pops.
Not even close.
Does it get a lot of attention?
I'm going with a medium on this one just because it's in white.
Yeah, if it was blue or the green, maybe,
Or even the yellow.
yeah, 100%. In this color, it kind of blends in unless you're ripping it or people know.
So we have to judge this car. I'm giving it a no.
Does it have a gimmicky steering wheel?
Kind of?
I mean, it's shared with the GLC and a lot of other stuff, so I would say no.
Do the doors go up?
They do not.
Ah, so disappointing.
Especially when the SLS was so much cooler.
I know.
Well, was it cooler? It was probably cooler.
I think it was cooler.
Probably just because the doors went up.
Exactly.
Okay, does it fit a small cup of coffee? It has 2 cup holders and it fits cups of coffee.
That's
just fine.
That's a fail.
Yeah, and then how about the visors?
Oh, let's find out. Oh, I don't have any faith in this.
3, 2, 1. Oh, supercar fail.
Well, but
Yeah, but it extends.
it does extend.
Extending's all that
A
matters.
supercar fail. Wow.
And does it fit a box?
Let's find out with the box test.
So we can only do the supercar test with one box. So today we are going to use Warehouse 74's box.
Let's find out if this passes. It's tight. Nope. Supercar pass.
So it doesn't fit a box, so that's a supercar pass.
Do you look cool getting in or out?
I mean, normal?
I think you look pretty cool. Like, look at that wing.
Yeah, I think that's mostly the car looking cool.
Look at the hood. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Do you look cool getting in or out? It's part of the car.
I guess.
It's not us.
I feel like that's more of an up-door kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it looks cool.
So overall, supercar or not supercar?
I want to say yes so badly, but according to the checklist, it looks like a no.
No, I think the GT3 RS didn't get one, and this isn't going to get one either.
I wonder if the SLS would be. Maybe we'll find out one day.
Yeah, if anybody has an SLS for us to drive, hit us up.
Let us know.
So supercar fail.
Yeah,
But
unfortunately.
very, very sport car.
I love this thing.
So now let's talk about the changes in the looks for this year.
Okay, so obviously the new Mercedes design language is up front. We got whole new headlights.
Yeah, I mean, it looks better on this than I think it does on the E-Class and the S-Class that's coming up.
I think it looks really good on coupes or coupes. And with the front bumper, we actually have active arrows. So there's a carbon fiber front splitter that changes at speed.
Yeah, I think over 80 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, because it looks like there's a button for it on the interior, but every time I press it, it doesn't do anything.
How about the taillights? Because those are also different.
I think they look all right. Nothing too special, to be honest.
I'm also going to give that a out of 10. And besides that, we have this one in white, which I haven't really seen in a GTR before.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool to see it in white, but it doesn't attract as much attention as yellow or green.
Which is kind of nice if you want to be subtle. Like, I mean, buying this car and being subtle is kind of a weird thing to do anyways.
Yeah, we do have a gigantic wing back there, but we'll get to the back in a second. Let's talk about the side.
Okay, we've got carbon fiber at the bottom and on the sides, on the fender, and on the mirror caps.
Yeah, I love the little additions to the fenders.
And then we have probably the best spec'd out wheels ever.
Mercedes really doesn't screw up wheels, and these are definitely one of my favorites.
And then what is the Continental recommended tire for the AMG GTR?
The Continental Extreme Contact Sport.
Then behind the wheels, we also have yellow brake calipers, but we do not have carbon ceramic brakes.
Yeah, you can get carbon ceramics for this, which are actually gold. So if you look at them closely, they look similar, but these are not carbon ceramic.
But like, everyone knows carbon ceramic brakes are super expensive to change, even though you get like crazy stopping power out of it. So like, I don't really mind.
Oh, I don't mind at all. I think these are the brakes to get. And the fact that they're yellow kind of tricks everybody that doesn't know.
And then obviously the big long hood, we also have some grills in there that are real. And I love how flat the front end is from the side view. It's just such a cool, aggressive looking thing.
Yeah, it's very classic, but also kind of futuristic at the same time. Like, it has the classic proportions.
And I love that it's still the Panamericana grille.
And before we move on to the back end, we also have a carbon fiber roof, which we also have a carbon fiber spoiler in the back end.
I love the big wing on the back of this.
And it is manually adjustable, so if you know what you're doing, you can get some Allen keys out and start fiddling around, but I wouldn't suggest it.
But it's not as big as the GT Porsche cars.
No.
But I don't think they made that spoiler smaller to not go faster. I'm pretty sure they optimized this thing to be as fast as they could.
Yeah, and I think you can buy a Mercedes GT4 race car, which would have a bigger wing.
Yeah, we're not in the market for buying
I would like to drive one of those.
GT4 race cars.
That'd be fun, though.
Yeah, driving everything is fun.
Yeah. If you have a GT4 race car,
Yeah,
let
no
us
one
know.
has a GT4 race car.
I know someone that has one, actually.
And then we still have that little bit of ventage below the hatch where it opens up. And by the way, yes, this is a hatch, which makes it kind of more practical, even though it can't fit a box.
Well, it makes it way more practical. And then we have amazing exhausts for several different reasons. They're not real, they're separate from the tip. We have center exhausts, and then we have exhausts on the outside that open up with valves.
It's weird that it's center exhaust because like AMG is all about the quad double exhaust, right?
It is a little bit weird, and it's very different for Mercedes AMG.
And I like when people do different things. Like it kind of sucks when everything is all the same across the board. And at the back we have the GTR logo with yellow. I think that's a very cool color for a fast car badge.
It looks a little weird on the white,
Yeah,
but I
no,
like it on the green.
I like it on the white, and especially with the matching brake calipers. I think it's really cool. And overall, the fact this thing is so low, so wide, I kind of like the looks of this more than I like the looks of a GT3 RS.
Oh, for sure. I think this thing looks way better than a Porsche GT3 RS because at the end of the day, it's still a 911.
Yeah, it's like a modified 911 where this is its completely own thing.
Exactly.
But I mean, GT3 RS is like...
It's a sick car, but
really
this is special.
So moving on to the interior and the changes, the main thing is the updated steering wheel. We've got newer gauges, and then we have an updated infotainment. It's a lot wider. It's kind of like the last gen, matched with this rotary wheel, so we don't have the trackpad yet. And then we've got the LCD buttons that we mentioned earlier. So this is kind of the sweet spot.
This is a mix of Mercedes new generation stuff with previous generation stuff, so we have a higher resolution screen, but we can't say, hey, Mercedes. So yeah, like you said, sweet spot.
And then we have Tune Mix, we've got rewinding satellite radio stations, then we have Apple CarPlay that goes across the whole screen, which the newer generation does not.
And we have Android Auto, come on.
Yeah, that's for you to say.
Yeah, exactly.
And best of all, we have this rotary wheel, which I mentioned before, I'll mention again. It's the best. I hate the trackpad. And then we only have a front camera and reverse camera. We don't have full 360 camera in this model.
Yeah, and the resolution's really good. It's nice to have a front camera in a car this long.
And then we've also got the updated gauges with the Super Sport in the middle, where you've got the tach that goes around, you've got your gear in the middle and the speedo at the bottom. It's very perfect, but there's no head-up display.
Yeah, and I don't think this car needs one at all because of the way that the gauges flash when it's time to upshift.
Yes, it's like perfect design aesthetic for a race car.
And speaking of race car, we are cocooned in these seats, and they are so comfortable, these bucket seats.
They're one of the most comfortable bucket seats in a sporty car.
They kind of remind me of our Mercedes AMG Petronas office chairs that we use for editing all these videos.
Shout out Noble Chairs. And the interesting thing about the seating position is the position settings are not on the door. For once, they're actually on the seat for a Mercedes.
And then we have a bunch of gloss black in the center console, which is a little bit gross, but we also have matte carbon, which I love.
Yeah, the matte carbon is kind of cool. It's refreshing because it's not gloss carbon or just raw carbon, so it's a cool touch.
And the way that it forms around the vents is really cool as well. And speaking of matte carbon, this bar right here is like a $2,000 option or something. I'll have to look that up later. I'll put it right down below, but you don't have to get it in this color. It's pretty cool.
Worth it. Maybe you should order like 3 of them.
I think so too.
Add way more rigidity. So that's pretty much everything for the updated 2020 AMG GTR. Let's get to the price.
$190,400 to start.
Canadian.
And this one is optioned out to $209,600.
That's kind of less than I thought it would be.
It's pretty damn good value for money.
And you don't really need to be on a waiting list like the GT cars for Porsche. I don't feel like it's at that level.
It's really not. And you can even get it cheaper than that, closer to the base price. You don't have to get these carbon fiber mirror caps for $4,900.
What do you think of this compared to the GTCs we drove earlier? Is it that much of a difference, or for most people would a GTC or maybe a GT be all right?
I think for the average person, the GTC, GTS, even the GT, totally fine. But for a not average person, this is a fantastic choice, and this would be my choice out of that bunch.
I might go for the GT or the GTS because I kind of like the way it looks without the wide body. I think it looks more elegant, more like a classic two-door car.
Yeah, I love the wide body part of this. I love the aggression of this. The wing I could do without, but I still like how it looks with it.
And then this cool traction control knob, which we absolutely love. Well, the way I would use it would be turning it all the way off. so I feel like I don't fully need it anyways.
Yeah, like I've been driving this with Master with 1 below off because I don't want to put this into a ditch. But yeah, if I owned it, I'd probably just turn it fully off.
So comparing the GTR to the competition, mainly the Porsche GT3 RS, what would you take, this or a GT3 RS?
So I thought about this long and hard, and I really mean that. Like, I took a couple days to think about that, and I would take this. I just feel like this is more special because it's not just a 911 with packed on stuff or deleted stuff. I think this is just a more special feeling car, and it's just a more me car.
I feel like I would be able to go faster in the GT3 RS, but I feel like I would learn more in this car. But I feel pretty at one with both, but I feel like I could slide this better than I can a GT3 RS.
Objectively, I think the GT3 RS is a better car. Subjectively, I think this is the better car.
If by some magical circumstance we had to pick names out of a hat and one of us got the GT3 RS and one of us got this, no matter who got which car, I would be happy with what I got and happy with what the other person has. I think that's the best way to describe this compared to a GT3 RS.
You buy one, you buy the other, you'll still be just as happy. Let us know which one you guys would pick in the comments.
And try to guess what next week's video is.
Let us know.
What car is this?
Also, you can probably tell that the suspension is pretty stiff right now.